shadow of Houston refineries, Emily Pinkerton currently lives and writes in the San Francisco Bay Area. She is an MFA candidate at San Francisco State University, and her writing has previously appeared or is forthcoming in Juked, Anthropoid, Blaze Vox, Hit, Lowert, and Leveler, among others. Her first chapbook, Natural Disasters, was recently published by Hermeneutic Chaos Press.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Evelyn. Thanks, everyone, for being here. It's always a treat to be at Bell Row. I'm going to start with some poems that are from the thesis that I'm currently working on for the MA in English. This project takes place in a very desolate, kind of barren landscape, and take every bad thing that's happening in the world right now and take it to the worst case scenario, and then take it to afterwards. And so we're dealing with sort of this very barren kind of earth, and there are very few characters in this manuscript, and they're just kind of trying to figure out what the hell happens afterwards. Some of these characters have a bit of a dialect, so you will hear me speak with inflection and an accent that you are not used to hearing from me, so watch out for that. This first poem is called Never. Oh, actually, one more thing before I begin. A lot of my poems are very, very short. Some of you know this. Because of that, it gets kind of awkward with applausal, and people are like, should I applaud now? Was that the end? So if you could, just hold all the applause until the very end of the set, and I'll just do this like a musical movement and go from piece to piece. Never. Sandalwood, apple tree, tasted wrong, too sour. Motherfucker, gotta eat something. Used to be a nice girl before she went feral. At least you'd think so. Drove a Prius and worked in publishing. Standard issue. Doesn't know how to feed herself anymore. Forgot what the dark leaves do. Lost the sense of words on a page. More interested in glyphs drawn in dirt. Sour smell in the air today, like licking hot aluminum in the summer sun. What do you mean you never? What is this? Why are we still here? When can I see a doctor? What was before? The sun rose in a hazy sky this morning. How does that affect me? Tried to move, but didn't understand directions, or what flagged a wave if I should come upon a stranger. Blue. That's what they used to call this. Describe the quality of your ache. A stone in the throat, cement in the legs, an emptiness like a sinkhole, gaping wider and wider, taking everything down with it. Why water? Why food and air? What remains? Animal or human? Back to normal. When you say good, what are you hoping for? Vinegar to cleanse the tarnished spots, or anesthetic to dull each raw wound? Spider silk, a stronger net to hold you, or a new hammer? What am I to you? Ice pick on a wintered lake, sunburn on your not quite tanned shoulders? What is it that you're afraid I'll do? Your silence always offers the same answer. Anything. Anything at all. Lost signals. What was I then? Radar blip, fading radio station, a wounded man's suture ripped out early. Some people don't want to heal easily. Cannonball and smoke. Heavy in the hands. What were you? Third day snow, packed and turned to ice. Winter sun bleaching walls white. The eerie silence of those days. A satchel full of lead and a lone flower. once a void. What was I before? Slingshot snapback, shotgun buckshot, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, always wanting something better, still believing what I had was enough, even when it was all salt. Iceberg with a frozen bubble inside, troubled expansiveness in search of anything less empty. The tar tries. Tar doesn't know how to speak except in siren. Always edge, always shrill and blade. Tried to be softer, but the tone still pierced. Doesn't know how to unalarm. Never had any reason to. Weathered man keeps his back to the wall. Old army habit. Doesn't talk much. Could tell you the number of exits, doors, windows, and electrical outlets in a room within 10 seconds of entering. No longer spry, but still strong. Still knows the best way to knock your teeth out if he has to. This poem is going to, I don't know if we're still doing announcements, but I'll do an announcement. So this poem is going to be published in Vagabond City Lit later this week, possibly Friday, I think. It's called Another Win for Gravity. 5-story drop to kill a man, unless the man's a motherfucker, in which case, give him 10, just to be sure he won't walk away. And yeah, this is actually a theme. So these next few poems have all been published, but they're some of my favorites. So I usually only read like new work, stuff that's like really raw and in progress here, so I wanted to depart from that form and read some of my favorite things. So this one's called Poem for Illinois. Spring. Snow still on the ground, blended with mud and twigs. I drive past the bar outside my old elementary school and watch the light reflect in the dull slush near the curb. Old coal town, bland as it is isolated, Midwestern roots, nothing to come back to. Leaving is the same as staying once the dust settles on your skin. Fly over without a thought and tongue the residue. Coyotes. On the farm where my niece lives, coyotes are eating the sheep. I always wanted to be a good sheep, grazing calmly in the field. Fuck it. The sheep are dead. I can't pretend anymore. I want to live without hiding. Trickster eyes, bloody incisors. No more passing as pet, always disappointing. No, I am anything but. I'm sorry for what flesh I tore. Predatory instincts. I was never tame. I know. Aesculus californica. The store where I bought the seeds you never planted but still kept burned down this summer. Took the apartments upstairs with it too, belching flames. Nobody's surprised, but the landlord acts like it. Borrowed time isn't market rate, isn't amenable to charitable terms. I walk by and smell water poured on a campfire, rotting wood and mold. I wanted to plant flowers. Dug up weeds in the hot afternoon sun, hoping to grow new blooms in blighted beds. The weeds grew back. Rain came. Rot came. Summer aired it out, the stalks dry as the seeds still in their packets. New weeds to pull, new beds to tend. Wild rosemary and sage. Tangled roots toughen smooth hands. The wish of every verb and tense contained in the single word, home. Poem for home. The knob broke off the front door years ago, and we never bothered replacing it. The hostile symbol tells the truth. We want to be left alone in our shame. You could say we let things fall apart after you died, but they were falling always. Now we tell the truth, where once we kept up appearances. We never used the front door, not even the one with the tessellated panes of beveled glass, too beautiful to be degraded with use. Besides, there were fewer steps from the car to the back door, and the occasional cottonmouth hissing on the front stoop made the justification even easier. This door is solid oak, only wasps and spiders in our path now. The weeping cherry tree is overgrown, the little pond beneath, former refuge, filled with leaves, only occasionally tended to. This is our monument of mourning. What we loved here is gone. Poem for home. Sunflower stalks, dried out and skeletal, a haunted forest grown between the back porch and the garden in only 4 months' time. Tomatoes dropped to the earth, now rotting under withered stalks, rotting like the stinking blossoms on the magnolia tree. Over the doorway, a dragonfly hangs from a thread of spider's silk, takes the shape of a fairy, suspended. Poem for home. Smell of garlic and onions frying in olive oil means somebody loves you. Smell of burnt coffee means there's work to be done and pleasures for softer creatures. Smell of secondhand smoke is sweet with tar and tobacco, a mellow note of fat that grows stale the longer it hangs in the air. It means we're just trying to get by and that should be enough, but it never is. Smell of stale beer grown sticky on countertops of dimly lit bars means there's no escape, but try anyway. It means someone waits for you, loves you more than you suffer, loves you enough to fry onions for an omelet each day of your difficult life. And I will close the set with something completely different. This is a series of poems called Underwater. They're kind of prose poems, so it's called Underwater. 1. Retracing this archaeology is like deep sea diving. It leaves me cold, disoriented. I enter a dark space, shining light that seems feeble, such limited beams. Old regret like light shining on rusted rails grown over with coral. There is a singularity of focus. I have to remember to come up for air. 2. I dreamt of a shipwreck last night. I was on the Titanic, in warmer waters, in the present day. Dreams can be heavy-handed sometimes. It was not the stately ship I'd read about. It was a cross between an aircraft carrier and a freighter. But the ship was sinking. I felt it upend and heave. I don't remember how I got back to shore, only that I did. From there I watched the iron bow fall. I thought about its industrial paint, dull earth tones, depressing shades that never knew vibrance even when new, colors that never dared to hope for more. 3. E.B. White once wrote of his wife, "Sometimes I feel as though I were a diver who had ventured a little beyond the limits of safe travel under the sea and had entered the strange zone where one is said to enjoy the rapture of the deep. Perhaps loving me requires entering and facing strange depths, but I see no rapture here." 4. I felt it once, with you. I found a vulnerability so deep I became a void. In that space, we connected. It felt holy, predestined. I am now convinced I willed this moment into being. 5. To dive is to search for what is lost, to presume that in finding, in recovery, there is some greater meaning. Sometimes the meaning is in the artifact itself, and sometimes you surface empty-handed. Sometimes the fruitless search is the whole point. 6. Sometimes I do not search at all. Sometimes I am merely trying to escape a wave, traversing under it, counting beats while holding my breath, waiting for a calm moment to surface safely. 7. What is there to say about the waves? Creation and destruction, unholdable forms, all we had. When we first met, you told me you had recently capsized while sailing. I think of this now, what floats and navigates safely, what takes on water and sinks. Wind on a fluid surface, the water displaced and never leaving. Thank you.